So week 2 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few pitchers you should drop this week on your fantasy roster. The first guy is James Paxton of the Seattle Mariners, and once again, James Paxton, he just can't catch a break, and he's hurt once again with a left elbow injury, and it looks like he might need Tommy John. Is Paxton. He's going for a second opinion later on this week to see what the diagnosis and if he'll need Tommy John or not is Paxton. So Paxton on the season, he only pitched 1 inning and 1/3, 2 strikeouts, and he gave up a run in that inning, and then he went down with the injury, and it looks like he'll be out for a long time, or obviously for a season and a half if he's going to need Tommy John this season here. So Paxton, he went back to Seattle where it all started for him this offseason, and he got a pretty decent deal, but once again, just the injury bug has bit Paxton over the last few seasons of his career with the Yankees, and now back with Seattle, nothing has changed for Paxton, and he's already been dropped in 8% of fantasy leagues, and I would drop him in all 10 and 12 team leagues. There's no reason to hold on to him. Even if he does come back, he's going to be out most likely 2 or 3 months, and I don't think he's worth the wait, in my opinion, especially for a Seattle team that's probably not going to compete this season. So even at that, there's no real reason to bring Paxton back, and he's still owned in 46% of fantasy leagues. But right now, if I'm a Paxton owner, I'm just going to drop him because I don't think he's coming back, even if he don't need Tommy John, which hopefully he don't, but he's definitely droppable. The second pitcher is Ariel Hernandez of the Miami Marlins. So Hernandez, another injured player here, and we don't know when he's going to come back. He's on the IL with a bicep injury, and they're going to see if it's more than inflammation that put him a right bicep injury, and he's been dropped in 2% of leagues so far is Hernandez. And Hernandez, he had to start early in the season versus Tampa Bay, and this is where he left the game April 3rd, 2 1/3. He went 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts for Hernandez, and then he got pulled with the bicep injury, and he's still owned in 51% of fantasy leagues. But right now, even if he's going to be out only for a little bit, I don't think he's worth the wait as Hernandez. Last season with Miami, he had a mediocre year, 25 and 2/3 of an inning, a 1-0 record, 9 earned runs, 34 strikeouts, and a 3.16 ERA, and a 1.01 whip with no quality start. So Hernandez, I don't think he's worth the wait, even if he's going to come back in a couple weeks here, because there's a lot of injuries right now in the major leagues with players who are obviously better than Hernandez. So he's not even worth an IL stash unless your team's not injured, but most teams are injured so far in fantasy baseball, and I would just drop him off in free agency in 10 and 12 team leagues at least. The next pitcher is Zach Davies of the Chicago Cubs. So it seems like each and every season now, Davies is on a different team, and he was the piece in the Yu Darvish deal with a few prospects as well going to Chicago. And Davies so far on the season, he started 2 ball games for the Cubs, and he's won 7 1/3, a 1-1 record. He's given up 9 earned runs in the 7 1/3, 11.05 ERA, a 2.05 whip, and 7 strikeouts in that time. So Davies, he's on a team that they're going to be middle of the pack, I think, this season is Chicago. And right now, Davies, he's been getting hit hard, especially by the Pittsburgh Pirates, who he started against in his first 2 start of the seasons. And the Pirates, they're one of the worst teams, in my opinion, in all of Major League Baseball. So Davies, when he's going to go up against tougher teams, who knows what type of outing he's going to have. And so far in the first 2 outings for him versus Pittsburgh, April 4th, 5 2/3, he got the win in that ball game. 2 earned runs, 4 hits, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks with a 3.18 ERA and a 1.24 whip. And then the April 10th versus the Pirates, they had his number in that one, 1 2/3. Obviously got the loss in that game. 5 hits, 7 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, and he got blown up for a 37.80 ERA and a 4.80 whip. So right now, a lot of fantasy owners, they're already giving up on Davies. He's been dropped in 13% of fantasy leagues this week so far, and he's still owned in 60%, but that number should drop down more. And his next start is versus the Atlanta Braves, April 16th. And if he pitches the way like he did versus Pittsburgh, he won't get out of the second inning once again in this one. So right now, I think it's safe to say to drop Davies this week. The next pitcher is Trevor Rosenthal of the Oakland Athletics. So unfortunately, Rosenthal, he's going to be out a long time what the thoracic outlet surgery, and we've seen many pitchers over the last few seasons get it and really never be the same. Matt Harvey, who is one of the best pitchers in all of the major leagues, he's one of the most recent guys I can remember getting that surgery, and obviously he's never been the same since. And now Rosenthal, he's going to be out most likely 8 to 10 weeks in this one, and right now there's no reason to hold on to the closer here. Oakland, they'll go with other options they got in the bullpen, and he's been dropped in 8% of fantasy leagues. So Rosenthal, at least he cashed in this offseason and got a 1-year, $11 million deal before going down with the injury. And he didn't even pitch this season at all, so he was drafted in most fantasy leagues as a top 10 closer, and he couldn't even reach the mound. Last season, he was spectacular for the Padres, 23 2/3, 1-0 record. He only gave up 12 hits, only 5 earned runs, 38 strikeouts with a 1.90 ERA and an 0.85 whip between Kansas City and the Padres, like I mentioned. But right now, like I said, he's on the 60-day DL, and there's no reason to hold on to him on your fantasy roster, even though I see some managers in my leagues holding on to him. But at this point, he's droppable because he's a replaceable closer, and owners, they're starting to drop him in 8% of leagues, but he's still owned in 59% of leagues. And the fifth and final pitcher I would look to get rid of this week and drops Carlos Martinez of the St. Louis Cardinals. So Martinez, he was a sleeper for me this season as a pitcher, but right now he's just not getting the job done, is the 29-year-old Martinez, and he's been dropped in 4% of fantasy leagues this week. Coming into the week, he was only owned in 20% of leagues, obviously most deep leagues, but right now he just can't find the stuff like he did a few seasons ago, where he was one of the top pitchers in Major League Baseball. And so far in the season, 10 innings pitched, 0-2 record. He's given up 12 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, with a 6.30 ERA and a 1.40 whip. So the Cardinals this season, they're going to be a team competing for that NL Central and trying to have title aspirations, especially trading for Nolan Arenado in the offseason here. But right now, Carlos Martinez, he's a starter. You can't rely on him. We go by the stats I said, and we'll break it down the first 2 starts of the season for him. April 4th at Cincinnati, 5 innings. He got the loss in that one. 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 7.20 ERA, and a 1.20 whip. And then April 10th versus the Brew Crew, 5 innings, got the loss in that one. 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 strikeout, a 5.40 ERA, and a 1.60 whip. And right now, Martinez, his next start's versus the Philadelphia Phillies, who are hitting the baseball at a good pace as well. So right now, I can't trust Martinez. Obviously, fantasy owners don't trust him either, dropping him this week. And he's a droppable guy, so that's a few pitchers I would look to drop here in week 2 of the fantasy baseball season.